Despite the lack of responsiveness, days went a little faster in Tom's company. Nora still only talked to him, not to any of the adults or the man in suit, whom she had seen several times since his first visit. She still hoped to go home. She needed to tell her mother and grandmother how much she loved and missed them. Do they even remember her anymore? She hardly kept track of time in her initial days inside, but by now she had no idea how long she had not seen anyone from her family. Sensing something would happen, she feared every sound of steps in the hall. They would not keep her for nothing, would they? Are they waiting for her parents to come? Or do her parents not want her anymore? She cried most nights. Unlike before her captivity, when she could roam the corridors of the arena freely, she had no desire to stay. Sadness was soon conjoined with anger, and it was way too easy to direct it at the man in the suit, who has been appearing much more often the past several days. She listened to his words, although many of them did not mean much to her, clenching her fists in the emotion of unprecedented power. But she, herself, was completely powerless, and at the mercy of the countless adults that kept entering and leaving her space. They even took her bag back. They carried Tom away in the morning. He fought for a few seconds, but his body suddenly went limp, and Nora, pressed in the corner of the room, watched his head fall back unconsciously. Time slowed down when the door closed after them. She has gotten used to talking to her fellow prisoner. She was starting to see him as a friend. Although his mouth remained silent, he spoke with his eyes and expressions. When he got back, he was red in the face and sweaty. His eyes widened. He looked at Nora and then around as if trying to find a safe space away from the men carrying him in his arms. Tom tried to move, but the man tightened his grip, quickly exhausting the boy's efforts. Nora watched, happy to see him again and terrified of what they have done to him. She couldn't believe how much the boy changed in such a short time. His body was on fire, his face tight in a grimace and pupils darting from place to place. They left them alone. The boy, clearly exhausted, remained on the bed, while Nora slowly approached him. "What did they do to you?" She was not hoping for a response, but needed to fill the silence. He suddenly seemed so fragile. His eyes twitched, and he tried to focus on her, but gave up, eyelids closing again, shortly after. Standing beside the bed, the girl focused on the bandage tightly wrapped around Tom's throat. "What is—" She did not finish the question. "Can I have a look?" Not even a nod. Tom was breathing heavily, but at regular intervals. Yet again, her curiosity got the better of her, with her fingers loosening the strips of fabric. Nora only had to push aside a couple of layers before seeing what was beneath them. With the last strip, a bag the size of a tennis ball flapped on the pillow, still attached to the boy's neck. Nora stared at it for a moment. The plastic was clear, but the contents murky and reflecting light strangely. She noticed something was moving inside the thick liquid. Something she could not identify, but it was clearly making its way closer to Tom's skin. Nora hesitated only briefly before she grabbed the edge of the bag and pulled on it. It was unexpectedly sturdy, and she had to use both hands to break the seal connecting it to Tom's neck. His body shook and shifted slightly towards the girl. She pulled once more, and the edges finally let go with a horrifyingly slurping sound. The contents splashed all over the floor, parts of it landing in the girl's hair. Nora abruptly wiped the gel off her head, now seeing a small bloody hole in the boy's skin. The red liquid was already clotting around the wound, which one might find unusual on its own. What struck Nora, however, was the faint glow surrounding it. a cool green color, spreading from the point of entry to about 2 centimeters towards Tom's shoulder. A numbing pain suddenly broke on the back of her neck. She gasped and screamed, taken aback by the severity. She reached behind, trying to investigate, but froze in the unnatural position, hearing the commotion behind the door. She quickly evaluated the situation. Her silent agreement with the staff had been broken. Never before had she been difficult. She never caused any problems. Seeing the mess around her, Nora knew her easy life in the hall was over. She will be punished. She will have to talk. The door burst open and several adults started frantically assessing the scene, 2 of them heading straight to Nora, asking questions she did not understand. Then the room went quiet. A man's voice behind her stuttered in a whisper. She shouldn't. This isn't right. I didn't. I'm out. As Nora's body slowly gave in to the aggressive parasite, she only caught a glimpse of the 2 tall men tackling down a fellow employee who headed past her and out of the room. She did not see the end of it, only heard a hard, dull thump. She couldn't be sure, however, if it was the sound of the struggle or her head landing hard on the floor.